the Manus Island Detention Centre will be shut down. Papua New Guinea's PM Peter O'Neill has said that he and the Immigration Minister for Australia, Peter Dutton, have discussed a number of options as to exactly how that could happen.
Now, the details are yet to be announced, but it comes after a week of mounting pressure on the government over Australia's offshore detention policy. The Prime Minister got a bit of a taste of that earlier this afternoon. Up to 8 protesters interrupted Mr Turnbull's speech to the Committee of Economic Development of Australia.
Shame on you.
They were removed, but not before one managed to actually get on stage. The government is facing a fresh wave of criticism over offshore detention. Just this morning, more than 100 current and former detention centre workers signed a letter calling for the centres to be closed. And yesterday, almost 2,000 academics called for a summit on the issue. This, by the way, comes a week after the so-called Nauru files, more than 2,000 leaked incident reports documenting assaults, sexual abuse and self-harm among detainees, more than half involving children. Around 2,000 asylum seekers have been in limbo on Nauru and Manus Island for more than 3 years, and their indefinite detention continues to have bipartisan support. Yeah, a lot of the opposition to offshore detention is actually coming from those who worked inside the detention system. But under the Border Force Act, it's actually illegal for anyone who worked in offshore detention to speak about what they saw.
And yet, our next guest worked on both Manus Island and Nauru and may in fact be risking prosecution even by speaking to us. Amelia Tao is a nurse who worked in refugee health for more than 5 years, and she joins us now from Melbourne. Amelia, I'm curious about what you think about this. Do you welcome the closure of the Manus Island Detention Centre?
Absolutely. I think the closure of Manus Island is a step in the right direction, particularly around changing the attitudes and discourse around asylum seekers in our country.
I mean, we don't have the details, though, at the moment. What should happen to the people who were detained on Manus?
Looking at proper resettlement options that give them future prospects for education and employment, and done so in a humane way.
So you would like to see them essentially brought to Australia, settled in Australia?
Absolutely. We'd like to have people brought and settled in Australia, or alternatively at least have their claims processed. There's no excuse for us jeopardising people's health and safety, as we've seen sort of detailed this week in things like the Nauru files.
And yet the whole kind of idea behind offshore detention is that it acts as a deterrent. It's something that is undesirable, and that really is the framework with which, you know, both sides of politics have been operating. Do you think it's likely that they will end up in Australia?
We've stopped the boats and we've turned back the boats, and we're protecting people's lives at sea, but I would ask, at what cost if we're protecting people's lives at sea only to have them put in a situation like this where we're systematically eroding their human rights and their physical and mental health.
Yeah, I mean, you've experienced sort of what happens in detention centres firsthand, I guess. So these horrendous reports that we're seeing, particularly in the Nauru files, are they overstated like the government says?
In my experience, certainly not. What it actually is an insight into the pressure cooker environment that these people are living in, where parents, for example, are really disempowered to parent. And when that's taken away, we see that the sorts of incidents that have occurred. So certainly they were present in my day-to-day practice when I did work on the island.
Amelia, we alluded to this earlier. You're potentially up for prosecution if you talk to the media. So why have you decided to speak out, given that you may well face legal action?
My work there and my time there really changed my perspectives on myself as a nurse, as a clinician, what my roles were in advocacy, and also my kind of view of myself as an Australian. And I was always raised with, you know, from day dot with that idea that this country is rooted in an ethos of mateship and camaraderie and a fair go. And I think that I genuinely believe that people aren't getting a fair go. And that they're the kind of sort of existential questions that come up when you work in a very difficult environment like this for a protracted amount of time. And there's only so much of that you can sort of grapple with before you think, no, there's a point, I've found my line and it's been crossed.
We saw earlier today there were protesters that interrupted Malcolm Turnbull's speech, telling him that he should be ashamed, that Australia should be ashamed. Do you think Australia should be ashamed of the way it treats refugees?
Things like shame, it's a really sort of denigrating word, and people get their back up straight away. And make no mistake, I'm a very, very, very proud Australian, a patriotic Australian, and it's for those reasons that I feel disappointed and let down.
All right, Amelia Tao, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.